Welcome into another episode of Christ in a Culture War podcast. It is your host, Jesse Williams. I have once again been gone for a long time and have not recorded, but alas, here we are 2 months later, a little over 2 months later with a new video. I'm not going to lie to y'all, I've been thinking about not shutting down the podcast, but coming up with a different name for the podcast. But right now, the name stands. We are in a culture war. We are in a war against truth. We are in a war. Well, we're not in a war against truth. We're involved in a war against truth. We're on the truth side, and it seems to be there's many people out there that are on the side of not truth, right? Which would be lies, falsehood. And I have some examples of that for you, right? So before we start, click the like button, subscribe, all that good stuff. Follow me on Twitter. My handle is Jesse Talks Bible, or on X as they call it. I still call it Twitter. It's whatever. So new Twitter account, new X account. Obviously, you'll be seeing this on YouTube, so you'll have access to all my other videos. And yes, so I just wanted to shoot a podcast today. I legitimately am not exactly sure of what I'm talking about fully. I didn't plan this episode out. But I am going to be talking about, unfortunately, the Candace Owens situation. So I've been watching a lot of Ruslan KD. Shout out to Ruslan. He does a podcast. Check him out on YouTube. Ruslan KD. Bless God Studios. Right, so he's been covering this a lot. Mike Winger's been covering this a lot. Several people have been covering this a lot. And so a couple videos ago, I did a video called The Gospel and Conspiracy Theories, and I talk about the attacks on Christian apologist Frank Turek. So, if you didn't watch that video, it's okay. I'll recap it for you. So, the day that Charlie Kirk got assassinated, he was with Frank Turek. Who is Frank Turek? Frank Turek is a Christian apologist, so he does something very similar to Charlie Kirk. He travels around to universities and he gives his talk. Usually it's called I Don't Have Enough Faith to Be an Atheist, which is the name of his book, right? And the name of the channel, which used to be Cross-Examined. So he gives this presentation on the evidence for God, the evidence for Jesus, and then he, like Charlie, does a Q&A. And students come to the mic and they ask questions, and Frank Turek goes back and forth with them. And it's all, but his stuff is like gospel-centered. Not saying that Charlie Kirk's wasn't, but Charlie was more political. Now, Frank does talk about politics, right? So I didn't know this when Charlie Kirk died at the time, and maybe Frank had said it and I just didn't catch it, but Frank Turek had developed a real close friendship with Charlie Kirk in the time before he died. So Frank Turek was at the event in the college in Utah. Utah Valley State, I think, was the college, right? And Frank Turek was there with Charlie, and he was on FaceTime with, at the time, I think it was one of his kids and his kid's wife, because he had just called one of his other kids, or he had called his wife. Anyways, he's talking to somebody, and then the assassination happens. Frank's in the vehicle with Charlie on the way to the hospital. Charlie had already been dead. Frank's talked about this, right? And so in my video, all these people started talking about the man in the white hat, who I identified to my audience of however many people that is, that was Frank Turek. I've read Frank Turek's book. I have another book called Stealing from God by Frank Turek. I'm not saying Frank Turek's perfect, but and there's actually some secondary issues that I would disagree with Frank on, but I'm a big fan, right? And so I don't know Frank, never met him. I would love to meet him. And a lot of his arguments and questions that he asked, I use in apologetics work. So one of his favorite one is to ask somebody, if Christianity were true, would you become a Christian? And then just kind of watch people dance around that question. Because what you're trying to figure out is that person's issue with Christianity a head issue? Like, for example, like they just don't have enough evidence, or they haven't been convinced intellectually, or is it a heart issue that they want to live the way that they want to live, and thus that they choose not to believe, right? And so that's what you're trying to find out, because what'll happen is if you're doing a conversation with somebody, you'll get into 21 questions, right? So they're not really interested in the answers. They're just trying to stump you. So how could all that? I had a roommate that used to do this. And I finally asked him, I was like, bro, we can do this all night and I can have an answer. But are you actually interested in this? Or is this you just trying to see what I don't know? Because I don't have all the answers. So anyways, so I did a video and I said, hey, the guy in the white hat is Frank Turek. He's a Christian apologist. I seriously doubt that Frank Turek was signaling the shooter at this event, right? And then you know that Candace Owens is now going after him. And so Frank was on a podcast and he was telling these guys, like, hey, in the Old Testament, like if you made an accusation against somebody and you were wrong, then you would get the penalty for whatever that accusation was, right? So let's say that you accuse somebody of murder and the penalty for murder is death. Well, if you accuse them and it's proven that you're wrong, then you get put to death, right? So Frank made that an illustration about why in the Old Testament, like you couldn't just run around and say stuff, right? And so Candace Owens is using this freedom of speech argument about this, but freedom of speech doesn't cover libel, which is like, it doesn't cover slander, and it doesn't cover, there's another one, right? Like you basically can't just come out here and accuse people of things with no repercussions and consequences, right? So she made a big deal about that. Then she's also talking about how they haven't provided any evidence that the shooter is the shooter. I totally forgot the kid's name. I'm going to look it up. Tommy Robinson. Yeah, Tommy Robinson. So she's saying that Tommy Robinson isn't the actual shooter. She's saying there's no evidence. She's saying that Charlie's neck shouldn't have stopped a 30-06 bullet. I'm not a gun expert. I can tell you that whatever that crawl. So Candace posts this surveillance video of supposed to be, is it Tommy Robinson or Tyler Robinson? I can't remember. So the Robinson kid, the person that is in jail on trial for murdering Charlie Kirk, right? So she's claiming it's not him. And in the video footage, she's showing this guy doing this side crawl. And then she says that's some super elite military tactical maneuver. Okay, I want you to look behind me. Okay, behind me, that's an American flag that I got for my service in Iraq. And I'm so sorry that my computer just dinged and made a stupid noise. Behind me, the camera's not up because I'm trying a different angle for this video, but behind me you can see in the middle that's actually the uniform top that I got and that I wore in Syria. So it's got my CIB, it's got my unit patches on it, it's got my rank, blah blah blah. Also under that you can see I have dog tags, and then my blue cord I'm signifying that I'm an infantryman, right? And I've got all the paper, and then behind me there's some awards. Those are some Army Achievement Medals, Army Accommodation Medals, what we call ARCOMs. And also it's a book by Louis Giglio that I might talk about later in this podcast. It's a really good book. I would absolutely recommend it. So anyways, so like I know a little bit about this, right? Because I was in the military. I was in the Army National Guard. So you could be like, oh, you're only weekend warrior. I've been to 3 deployments, guy. Okay? I've been to Iraq. I've been to Kuwait. I've been to Djibouti, Africa, and I've been to Syria, okay? Minus the other countries around there, right? So, and I don't have to defend my military service, but people do say that. Anyways, so whatever crawl that Robinson kid was doing is nothing that, like, we have low crawls, which, look it up, and then we have a high crawl, and that's about it. Like, yeah, I mean, I'm at some point you might have to move side to side, but you also do rolls and stuff like that. Like, first off, super elite military tactics is most of the tactics that we do in the military. I just want to say this. The ASVAB is out of 99, okay? You need like a 30-something to get in the military. Like, and I'm not saying that people in the military are dumb. I'm saying that we're not all super geniuses, right? Like, you don't have to be this, like, you need to be in shape, right? You need to not have asthma. There's some things that you don't need to have going on. You need to be you should be pretty clear mentally. I mean, because there comes a point where you have to make life and death decisions. Same thing with law enforcement, right? So anyways, watching that video, she's like, oh, how would he know how to do that side crawl or whatever? I've never seen a side crawl before in my life. All right, first off. Second off, listen, if Tyler Robinson didn't kill Charlie Kirk, then I don't want him to go to jail. If Tyler Robinson did kill Charlie Kirk, then he should absolutely go to jail. And justice should be served. Erica Kirk can forgive him. That's the same thing. There's a difference between, and I want to give a shout out to Josh Howerton. And he's a pastor, Lake Point Church. I don't want to misquote his church's name, but the church is called Lake Point. It's in Dallas, Texas. And I've been seeing these clips on YouTube pop up on Josh, and I found them interesting. And then I had watched a couple of his podcasts or parts of his podcast. Well, he recently just did an interview with Sean Ryan, who I've always liked Sean Ryan. And so, anyways, he does this podcast. Great podcast. I watched it over the course of 2 days because it's like 2.5 hours, 2 hours and 50 minutes. It's a long podcast, but it's worth the watch. And so, anyways, why did I bring up Josh Howerton? Anyways, why did I bring up Josh Howerton? I really don't remember. We were talking about Candace Owens, and we were talking about how, because Josh Howerton was talking to, and Sean Ryan was saying that just because you forgive somebody doesn't, if somebody commits a sin against you, Sean was asking, like, should you still call the authorities, right? Well, in the case of, like, a crime is committed, right? Like, against a child or just in general, right? So, like, if someone, like, kills your brother, right, you can forgive them, but you still call the police because there's still justice that needs to happen for that. Yes, Josh Howerton also made a very good point. People's sins will get paid for in one of two ways. Either you trust in Jesus and your sin has been paid for Jesus on the cross, or you don't believe in Jesus and then you will pay for that sin for the rest of eternity. Josh Howerton also had a really good quote. He says most people think that Christians are a bunch of good people trying to tell bad people not to be bad. He said, you live this thing long enough, you realize that's not the case, that I'm not good. He said, it's a bunch of forgiven nobodies trying to tell somebody, or it's a bunch of forgiven nobodies trying to tell everybody about somebody who can save anybody. Let me say that again. It's a bunch of forgiven nobodies trying to tell everybody about somebody who can save anybody. And that person is Jesus Christ, right? I thought that was so fascinating. And so interesting that he would say that. Like, I literally, like, rewound that 4, 5, 6 times and, like, had to put that quote down just because it was so dope, right? It was so awesome. So anyways, back to Candace Owens, right? So it's been pointed out that Candace Owens has most likely made north of $100 million off of this. She claims that she was Charlie Kirk's friend. She also said that if Erica asked her, so Erica Kirk, Charlie Kirk's widow, she said that if Erica asked her to stop, she would stop. Erica Kirk asked her to stop. She hasn't stopped. And I want to say something, because I know people in my life that like Candace Owens or like Candace Owens' material, because I don't know her personally. And I would say this to you. I'm not saying that conspiracies do not happen, because they do. They don't happen often, because for a conspiracy to be pulled off, some things need to happen. So the least amount of people need to know about it. That way it's less likely that people are going to talk. Also, the people involved should probably be family members, so you know that one of them won't rat, right? You also need, like, there has to be, like, it has to be plausible, right? And so, like, I haven't heard the reasons why Turning Point would kill Charlie Kirk. Like, because that's a claim that Candace Owens has made. She's insinuated that the Egyptians were in it, that Israel was in on it, that Turning Point was in on it. And then that Erica Kirk was in on it at some point. I'm not going to say anything else because I don't want her suing me, because I don't know what all else she said, so I don't want to say something that she didn't say. So I'm not going to, like, say that she said that this person. So she might not, I know for a fact that she's insinuated that at the very least, Turning Point and Erica Kirk were involved. So I will just leave it at that. I feel like she's going to then imply that Tyler Robinson's defense is going to be in on it, right? I want to say that Mike Winger or Ruslan, or somebody in the Christian Avengers said it. And if you didn't say it, I'm sorry. I'm not trying to put words in your mouth, guys. Big fan, by the way. I'd love to be a part of the Christian Avengers. And I don't know if that's what they're actually called, but the Christian Avengers is like, in my opinion, is George Janko, Mike Winger, Stewart, and Cliff Naturally. Basically, it's just all the big Christian apologists and people who have YouTube channels that I super respect. So Frank Turk's among them, right? Like David Wood, What Do You Mean, Alan Parr, like those guys I call the Christian Avengers. And it's a term of endearment, right? I'm not putting you guys on a pedestal, but you guys are awesome and you do great work for the kingdom. So my point is that as a Christian, as a person who follows Jesus, and as a person who truth is important to me, right? I don't want to believe something that's false. So as a Christian, and I know what happens. So what happened is the government has lied to us about so many things. COVID, 9/11, JFK, aliens or the demons or whatever, right? The moon landing, they say, is like, and so now everything's a conspiracy, right? So now anytime something happens, there's a conspiracy theory behind it. Like the big bad government is doing this stuff, right? And so we start attributing things to the government that I don't think the government can pull off. I have questions still about 9/11. There's some issues there. The moon landing, I'm not sure, right? JFK assassination seems to me that like the lid's been blown off of that one. No pun intended to JFK getting shot in the head. Yeah, YouTube's never gonna monetize me, just so y'all know. Like, because I'm not gonna say all these other words instead of the actual word. Like, if they ever monetize me, maybe I will. But for now, since I'm getting like tops 80 views, low end like 12, I'm just going to say what I need to say, right? So, I just think that if you're following Candace Owens, like, ask yourself why. Ask yourself this question. And I want you to really open your mind up and be open to this. What evidence in this case has she presented that's come to fruition? What about these Egyptian planes? Like, they have video surveillance of the dude on campus. Why is it that Tyler Robinson's defense isn't using any of the stuff that Candace Owens is talking about? And don't be like, oh, they're in on it. Okay, so everybody's in on it, right? The whole world conspired to kill Charlie Kirk. But here's the crazy part. If I'm wrong, if Turning Point did kill Charlie Kirk, and if, God forbid, Erica did, or Frank Turek was signaling, if I find out that any of this is true, I will be the first one to say I was wrong. I don't think that's the case. So you're telling me that the entire American justice system is involved, because then what? What happens if the jury convicts Tyler Robinson? Oh, the jury's in on it too? You just have to keep adding layer to this conspiracy to where it no longer makes any sense. And Christians, have you noticed that Candace Owens low-key has been talking crazy about y'all? About us? Like, Christian slop and this so-called pastor. First off, Frank Turk never claimed to be a pastor. Frank Turk is a Christian apologist. Now, if he is a pastor, my bad again. But as far as I know, he's a Christian apologist and an author and a speaker. And he's not so-called. He's been doing this for years. Way before way before Charlie Kirk was popping, Frank Turk was going around doing the same thing Charlie was doing. The only difference is Charlie did his events outdoors. Charlie did his events indoors. I'm sorry. Frank did his events indoors. Charlie did his events outdoors, right? So, like, and it just really made me upset. The initial conspiracy theory is because, like, we have enough fallen Christian leaders, like, that we know that Christians aren't above reproach. We're not saying that. We're not saying that Frank's infallible. But, like, you can't hide behind, oh, I'm just asking questions and freedom of speech when you're accusing people of things. Oh, I'm just asking questions. No. Like, that man has children. That man has grandchildren. That's like if you make a false claim about me at my job, like, it's not just, oops, I was wrong. No, like, you're putting something on somebody. Like you're affecting people's lives. You're affecting people's livelihood, people's ministries. You're accusing them of these heinous things. And honestly, if I'm going to be honest, that's a weird phrase. The more this goes on, the less... I used to think Candace Owens was extremely intelligent. And an extremely talented and a necessary voice on the political right. She actually stood for a lot of things that I stood for. And I was like, okay, we have a African-American woman, young woman, who's intelligent, who's taking on the woke ideology of the left. And I thought, that's a good thing. I don't know who this person is. And I have a theory. I wonder, since we're just asking questions, Candace, was Candace secretly in love with Charlie Kirk? Because this behavior looks like a person who, and maybe she just really loved him as a friend, which is fine. I'm okay with that. But it seems like something in her head snapped, right? Like something broke in her brain the day Charlie died. Like, this has been going on for over a year. Like, and the more evidence comes out, she just moves the goalpost. I never want to be that person. See, if you're a Christian and you follow, I'm not saying you can't follow her on Twitter or anything, but if you're a Candace Owens follower, like everything that she says is true to you, you need to ask yourself, what is Christ like about what she's doing? She's standing up for the truth, but when the truth is prevented, one time I want Candace Owens to look into that camera and say, you know what, I was wrong. I'd respect that. I was wrong about that. Now that I've gotten the facts, I was wrong. Because you can change your opinion on things. My opinion on secondary issues from Christianity changes daily. Not the gospel, but, the age of the earth, it fluctuates. Revelation, it fluctuates because I'm searching for the truth. So I'm not stuck in a rabbit hole. I've been pretty stuck on the premillennial stuff, but I'm trying my best not to be, right? But the main thing I'm stuck on is like the essentials of the gospel, right? Everything else you can change my mind on. And if Christianity was proven to be false, why would I waste my time adhering to it? Why would I limit all the fun stuff I could do? Because if I wasn't a Christian, I'm going crazy, y'all. Like, if there is no God, especially if there's no God, and if there is a God, but he doesn't require anything of me morally, I'm not saying I'm gonna go out here and start committing crimes, but shoot, like, I'm gonna go live for me. Because why be good? Thank God I believe that, and I'm just being honest with y'all. Like, we kicking it like it's 1999. But since I do believe there is a God and he gave everything for me, including his son on the cross, and that guy, the evidence shows that Jesus really did rise from the dead, then I want to be more like Jesus. So I have to deny myself, take up my cross, and follow him. That's Matthew 16. I want to say 25. Yeah, so, but I also think we should be praying for Candace Owens, right? We should call out the nonsense. We should call out Tucker Carlson's nonsense. And I haven't watched a lot of Tucker, but I'm sure we'll get to you, buddy. Saw that he started his own political party. He's okay. But as Christians, I feel like we should want the truth. But when the truth is given to us and we don't like it, like, it's like the people got Epstein. The people who were the first on Epstein were so right that now those people are like, everyone look at us, we're always right. But I think you're wrong here. Like, Charlie died. Charlie is with Jesus. That happened. There's a letter. Like, I watch a lot of conspiracy movies, like a lot of CIA stuff, TV shows and stuff like that. It's really interesting to me. I don't think that that's all real life. Like, I'm watching Special Ops Lioness. I don't think that the whole world works that way. And I would rather talk about Jesus and what he's done on the cross and what the atonement meant and how to lead people to Jesus and how to live for Jesus once you become a Christian. And Don't give the enemy a seat at your table. That's the name of that book behind me. Shout out Louis Giglio. Shout out John Jacks, Jared Jacks. Thank you, John, for having us read that book in Sunday school. Like, it really helped. And it's based on the Bible. That's where the truth is, y'all. See, it's funny because they keep trying to disprove the Bible, and every time they do, they dig up something else out of the ground that proves that the Bible was telling the truth the whole time. So if you want the truth, guys, open the Bible, get in the Word, follow Jesus. Listen, I love Frank Turek. I love Mike Winger. I love Alan Parr. I love Clifton Stewart Netchley. I love Ray Comfort. He's dead now, but Vody Baucham. I love Vody Baucham. I love John MacArthur, John Piper, Louis Giglio. I love my pastor. I love my people in my church. I love my Sunday school teacher, John Jack. I love my friend Clint, brother in the faith. I love you, Coop. But we're all people. So I don't follow y'all. Now, I look up to you, and I might follow your example because some of y'all set a really good, I think all of y'all, in my opinion, set a really good example. So I want to be more like you. Josh Howerton, I love you. I love the example that he sets. But these people aren't unfallible, right? They're not perfect. They would tell you they're not perfect. They would tell you that, that's why it's really like the Christian rapper Lecrae, or the rapper Lecrae. I know sometimes that you don't like being called that, Lecrae, and I understand. I get that as a person who used to rap. And the reason I didn't like that term is because I'm a Christian and I rap mostly about Christian things. But I don't want to get put in a box. So like if I make a song about the sky being beautiful and I don't mention God, they're like, oh, well, he's trying to hide the gospel. It's like, nah, bro, I'm an artist. Sometimes I just rap, right? Anyways, I don't really do that anymore. But like Lecrae, the reason I've always liked Lecrae is because his music is authentic and he is honest about his struggles. And he's a person that was for the Black Lives Matter movement. And then once he realized that it's like funded by Marxists, like he stopped rocking with that. He was presented evidence and he changed his mind. He talks about church hurt, but he never left the faith. And he came back and he's working through that, right? Because the evangelical church has had its failings. The church isn't perfect. The only perfect person who ever lived died and rose again. And we're being perfected, and in eternity we will be perfected, but we're trying to be more like Jesus, right? So I'm going to end this podcast because my throat is getting dry. But anyways, I just wanted to do an episode. I'm probably not going to speak on this again. I might. But stop believing Candace Owens because she's full of crap. That's my opinion, since we're freedom of speech, Candace. That's my opinion, that you're full of crap. And I think what she's doing is evil. And we call out evil. But, I wanted to end the podcast with this, though. Remember, I told my child's mother's daughter this. So, yes, I'm a single dad. Have a great relationship with the mom and then her husband. And he became the husband after. Just to be clear. So, I was talking to her daughter, and some questions came up. And I made this point. It's like, listen, we were talking about AI, right? And I was like, listen, I don't think AI is a great thing, but I use AI to create YouTube thumbnails. That's about all I use it for. But I'm not worried about the AI robots taking over the world, because I know who's in control. I know that God, I know how the story ends if my interpretation of Revelation is halfway correct. If there is a second coming of Jesus, which there is, then I know how the story ends. So we keep our eyes open, we're vigilant, but I know God's got this covered. So the government and all that, we vote for people who we think can make this country a better place. That's fine. But at the end of the day, whoever is put in power is ordained by God, even bad leaders. God will raise up bad leaders. He rose up Saul to show the people, hey, y'all wanted a king. The first one y'all got was this guy. He was a coward from the beginning, y'all. Then you get David. David does a lot of bad stuff, but David always repents and wrote some of the dopest stuff ever. Anyways, so remember, God is in control. The government isn't greater than God, and God ain't surprised by any of this. So this has been another episode of Christ in the Culture War. I am your host, Jesse Williams. I hope to see y'all sooner than 2 months from now. We shall see. Please like, share, comment, spread this around. Watch my other videos. Be blessed and have a great day.